Welcome back, everyone. Hans Lombardo with Blockpass IDN is here to talk to us today about Blockpass identity for a connected world. Please welcome Hans.
Thank you. We're going to show an introductory video real quick about Blockpass, which is a identity platform for the connected world.
Proving you are who you say you are, like every time you open a new bank account, is incredibly painful. What if you could fill in one last compliance form, get verified, and never have to fill one in again? Introducing Blockpass, the blockchain-based, safe, immutable, distributed whitelist of KYC verified identities. Simply provide your personal information and Blockpass will check it. Once marked clean, you can instantly interact with all Blockpass-enabled applications, like opening a bank account or exchanging cryptocurrency in seconds. And after you've been verified, we destroy your personal data. We're providing the foundation for seamless and trusted interaction between humans, companies, and devices. Blockpass, passport for a connected world.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak today. And you can put the presentation on. I'm Hans Lombardo. I'm the CMO at Blockpass. Blockpass is based in Hong Kong. I'm half German. That's the Hans part, right? I don't know if you know that Germany has a really strong blockchain development community, particularly outside Berlin. And it's growing very fast. Reason why I bring up Germany is I wanted to know why you think Germans like blockchain so much. They love precision. That, and also because of the Merkle trees. It's a really bad one. Okay, first of all, Blockpass is a identity verification platform for the connected world. It is a self-sovereign identity portal for regulated industries and the Internet of Everything. Now, self-sovereign identity, we are going to learn what that is as we go along, but it's basically user-centric, user-controlled, puts the hands of your identity, puts identity in the hands of the user. It's giving you control over your digital identity. Now, how did we get here? A number of years ago, my company, which is one of my companies, which is a startup called Chain of Things, was working on blockchain and IoT. And we found that there were huge problems, as like many other people are realizing that the huge problems with the rise of devices, the many millions and millions of different kinds of connected devices on the internet and around the world, the coming of AI, and all this has resulted in security being a nightmare. And we were trying to establish identity for devices, and we found that there wasn't really a good platform for human identity. Now, why do we need that? It's because humans, companies, objects, and devices are all entities in the Internet of Everything. Internet of Everything is Internet of Things plus humans. And because humans are key, absolutely key to this entire equation, in that they have to have ultimate ownership over objects and devices that are connected. So the principle is this. It's very simple. Humans and machines that know each other work together better, and work together in a more secure environment. So you have human identity, company identity, object identity, device identity. Now, the problem with identity is most of the identity on the internet is centralized, and users don't own their own identity. There are 4 phases that we're going through in terms of identity. As I said before, most of the online identities are currently centralized, either owned by governments or by big companies. The identities and the identity data. Users do not own their digital identities and have little control over them or how the personal data is shared. And now, another fast-growing area of identity is called federated identity. What federated identity is what Google and Facebook have been doing. So you sign up for a service that is not related to Facebook or Google, but they say, just use your Facebook ID or use your Google ID. And essentially, you're giving ownership to Google and Facebook, giving ownership of your identity and access to all these services. If Facebook or Google collapse, you lose access to those services. This is not ideal. It's not independent. It's not free. It's not controlled by you as a user. Another phase is the user-centric identity. While this is a bit better because it's fully portable, user-controlled, secure digital identity that has been developed in a number of projects that include OpenID and OpenAuth, it still falls short of independence and freedom because users are not under the control of a service, application, or website provider, but their digital identities are still maintained and controlled by providers of these digital identity services. So, now, what is self-sovereign identity? Ultimately, it's moving from non-user controlled and centralized model to fully user controlled and decentralized model of digital identity. That means control. Users must have control over their identities, including control over who has access to what aspects of the identity. There's security and integrity. Users' digital identities must be protected from unauthorized access, use, disclosure, or modification. They must be able to trust that integrity of data. And ultimately, portability and sovereignty. Users must be able to use the digital identities to identify themselves, etc. So the term sovereignty comes from history, right? It comes from politics and comes from international relations. Sovereignty is ownership and control. So when we say self-sovereignty, we mean user sovereignty over their data, over their identity. And that's what Blockpass is trying to achieve. Blockpass is essentially uses the blockchain's powerful characteristic as a registry, as a secure, immutable registry of information, or in this case, we call it a whitelist. Users join identity management app through a mobile platform. The app is on iOS and Android. So any user who has a phone can join our service. No identity is kept by the platform. We blow away the data of users. We do not keep that. The data of users' data is stored on their phone or with the merchant that they choose to do business with. Say a cryptocurrency exchange, for example. Anonymous hash-based zero-knowledge proof whitelist model. This means that at its later stages, Blockpass can be a zero-knowledge proof identity verification engine or anonymous verification engine. And it solves a number of major problems and issues in what we're seeing now, particularly in the crypto world and in financial services in general, and that is compliance. There needs to be an identity protocol to allow for compliant interactions on public permissionless blockchain protocols. Public, like Ethereum, Bitcoin, those are public blockchains. Permissionless, meaning that you don't need permission to join. Compliance creates huge costs for blockchain business and financial services in general. Compliance, and which is know your customer applications, anti-money laundering applications, are a huge spiraling cost for financial services and for blockchain businesses. And all blockchain businesses are going to need to do know your customer on anyone who is investing in their project, an ICO. They have to do it. Otherwise, there's going to be a backlash against them. Identity verification, if you're signing up for an exchange or other service, it could take days, it could take months for them to process your identity, particularly if you're doing an enterprise application. So here it just kind of goes over that even more. It just talks about problems with compliance. Bitcoin and other blockchain-based digital currencies can allow for easy money laundering. That's the fear that's sort of driving this backlash from authorities, regulators. They want all these currencies, people investing in ICO projects, to be verified. And it's the AML, money laundering, the terrorist funding, and also just basic know your customer requirements. But if you look down there, Coinbase back in 2015, I think it was, they said that 20% of their cost, this is the largest exchange, right, in America, 20% of their KYC, 20% of their budget goes to KYC. That's huge if you think about it. It's probably more now because they have so many people sign up, thousands, tens of thousands of people a day. And the problem with ICOs, as we know, we've all heard the horror stories of Tezos, and also EOS. EOS is not a horror story, but they raised $200 million respectively, anonymously, and that becomes a huge problem, became a huge problem for Tezos. As the SEC stated, the DAO fundraising violated securities laws last year. Also, the SEC has actually said that every single crypto that's on an exchange in the US, except for Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Litecoin, are securities. So KYCing investors is going to be very, very important. So as I said, compliance realities, it takes time, it interferes with onboarding customers, it interferes with switching between merchants, it increases costs. No solutions to these problems presently exist. Therefore, Blockpass offers a way to help blockchain businesses reduce their compliance cost because it's a shared platform. Protect the identity and personal data of the user of the system, and it rewards the user each time they sign up for another service. They earn tokens. Systematically addresses blockchain's need for RegTech and identity verification, provides privacy for an identity verification system that's compliant with next generation data protection regulations. The immediate product features are developers will be able to design standard tokens that plug into Blockpass protocol, meaning that the transaction can be performed and achieve full compliance in minutes. Ethereum blockchain startups will be able to launch a fully compliant token into the market that permits the onboarding of existing KYC members that are already on Blockpass. And digital currency exchanges and other digital currency merchants will be able to sign up for Blockpass IDN and integrate into their platform. Immediate outcomes, Blockpass will reduce the cost of compliance significantly for blockchain merchants and emerging financial enterprises, services enterprises, make public blockchain use safe and compliant, create a platform for development of compliant decentralized applications, make compliance attractive for users, and protect the personal data of users. Also, it's a seamless protocol for interoperability between on-chain identities. This is the app as it is right now. It's a basic app. We're based in Hong Kong. We're funded. We have a token, a native token called Pass. The Blockpass app has been in development for 6 months. We're launching version 1.0 next month. We have a beta. We have plans for 2.0, adding more technology to it, including biometric authentication, and then later, zero knowledge proof. We've partnered with a UK university who will act as our sort of R&D arm of our platform. So we are initially targeting exchanges, ICOs, blockchain startups, fintech, regtech, insurtech, traditional industries, and government. So, and the future development path for Blockpass includes not only people, but companies and devices. We will have a way where users can interact. We'll have identity system for devices where users can interact with devices, they can own them, they can rent them out, they can share them. So we can go into a lot more about IOE, but I think we don't have as much time. But we have a number of use cases that we were working on that involve devices that included shipping and logistics, where you have devices that are linked to what we call smart buckets, and there's smart contracts that replace trade documentation. And the different stakeholders in the system include the seller, the carrier, the buyer, the bank, and on both the seller and buyer side, and the insurance companies that are involved in the shipment and logistics. So the smart contract actually informs all of them if there's a problem with the shipment, if it's late, or if it's a cold shipment, there's an environmental problem with the shipment. it's real-time notification. And the other example is a decentralized autonomous utility where we had solar panels that were rented out to customers in a village. And the solar panel is a lease-buy concept model where the user actually leases the solar panel for a while, and when they complete payment, they own the solar panel array. Now we use, there's a human involved who's renting it, there's a company involved who's renting it out, and so there's opportunity for user identity and also device identity there. And as I said before, the ultimate goal for us is to implement zero knowledge proof, which is anonymous-based verification for onboarding customers. And we're working with a UK university to build an identity lab in the university and actually work on this part of the technology with them. Now, thank you very much. That's all for today. If you have any questions, please raise your hand. Yeah. Right, correct. So the first time they do the initial KYC verification, they pick an exchange. There'll be a button on the exchange, and they click register here. They go through the registration process. Then once they're in the app, they can look at the marketplace, and they can apply to anyone else who's on the platform, any other merchant, and instantaneously join. So they don't have to go through the KYC each time for the merchant. And it removes two pain points. One for the user, because they don't have to keep doing this, and also for the merchant, doesn't have to pay the massive cost of having their own KYC identity verification infrastructure. So, yes, sir. There's a setup process, but we just integrate with our API. The merchant, we make sure the merchant has everything they need to onboard onto the platform. But the infrastructure is our infrastructure. Does that answer your question? There is a setup process which will require, yeah. No, it's not going to be that onerous, not that difficult. Yeah, go ahead, sorry. The store pays for the KYC, the merchant pays for the KYC through tokens. Yeah, per KYC. So maybe the KYC is, say, like 80 cents for a pass token. Maybe they pay one pass token for each user that is verified. And that's the idea. And then the user earns, each time they sign up for a service, they earn tokens. And we also bringing in identity partners that could work as affiliates or actually identity registrars, and they do the identity process. They can be competitive with Blockpass IDN, and they onboard customers and users. They earn tokens. So the idea is to have this best way to do it is this network decentralized model so that we can get as many identities as possible using this platform. You have another question? Yes, sir. Right. So the user is actually totally user controlled, right? So it's user controlled and user centric. So the user has to download the app. They have to want to do this. So they have to download the app and go through the KYC process. And they control over who they send the data to. So from the merchant puts no. Right. Right. I mean, it's up to the merchant whether a merchant needs the KYC. In a lot of these cases, it's a regulatory need. So a cryptocurrency exchange will need to KYC every single investor. Coinbase, yeah, but the merchant may not. So it's up to the merchant and whether they need to do it for some reason, or if it's, for example, you're providing any financial services, you're going to need to KYC all your users. So, yep. We've got exchanges that are ready to be integrated. We've got literally 100 crypto leads, all kinds of different ICOs. So I mean, the token offerings can go through an exchange, or they can come to us directly. There's retroactive, the need for retroactive KYC. So what happens if there's a token offering that anonymously raised all their money through anonymously, then now they've come to us and say, we need to register all these people. So that happens. And also there's utility tokens that are in industries that require regulation, like if it's a gold-backed token, because gold is heavily regulated in the US particularly, they need to do KYC. So any other questions? No more questions? I guess we're finished. All good? All right, thank you.
Thank you, Hans.